When you think of Gremlins, what comes to mind? Is it mischievous monsters wreaking havoc, perhaps? Is it long-winded stories about your dad getting stuck in a chimney? Is it that microwave scene? Oh, that microwave scene. Or maybe what comes to mind is a Chinese grandfather being turned into an orb by a wizard who proceeds to unhinge his jaw and consume the grandpa whole.
Yummy!
Yeah, that must be it. You know, you may not expect it from me, but I'm actually quite a fan of the Gremlins franchise. I was first introduced to it when my dad showed me Gremlins 1. I was 7 at the time. I was so scared afterwards I couldn't sleep, and the theme song wouldn't leave my head, and I started thinking that there were gremlins living in my toilet. But one day that changed, and I decided to revisit the franchise. And I realized that once you get old enough where Muppets stop scaring you, these films turn into comedies. Okay, yeah, Animal still scares me. Okay, he would 100% eat me if he got the chance. I really like Gremlins 1 and 2. The adventures of Billy and his Mog-why are super entertaining, and grounded with some sense of reality. Hint hint. I'm a big enough fan I didn't even have to look with the word Mog-why, I just knew it, and I'm gonna pretend that makes me cool. When I heard about this new series covering how Mr. Wing met Gizmo for the first time, I got excited. And that was like 3 years ago. Then we got very few updates until the show was spontaneously released as a small push alongside HBO Max and Warner Discovery merging. Still, when I saw the first 2 episodes came out, I got excited. You know, I got up, I opened Max, and started the show. I did not know what I was getting myself into. This show is bad. I think it's bad. But just to show you why, let's go through these 2 episodes. So, the show opens on some mountains in China before zooming into a cave and showing Gizmo. I have to praise the backgrounds and Gizmo's design. I think they look good. I wish I could say the same for the human characters. But I'll take what I can get. So Gizmo takes a few steps and starts singing his little song.
When I met you in the summer.
And all of a sudden, dozens of Mog-why come out of their little houses in this cave, which makes no sense. For anyone who doesn't know, which is probably everyone, the Mog-why are a genetically altered creature from space. They were created as a weapon by aliens. They aren't a Chinese mythical creature, but whatever. Retconning the origin story no one knows. Fine, I just hope they don't retcon anything else.
Gizmo?
Suddenly, a big bird swoops down and attacks the Mog-why. And this is just insane. Gizmo ends up on the bird's back as it flies away, and somehow, due to Gizmo's incredible luck, the bird goes straight into a tree and off a cliff.
In the arms of the angel.
And Gizmo survives this fall, of course, and then they land in a waterfall where Gizmo just conveniently doesn't touch any of the water in this lake. Then the bird wakes up, and Gizmo proceeds to hit it with a stick, and he kills it. Since when is Gizmo a WWE fighter? Why is he able to fight off this mythical bird that is 40 times his size? So, I guess that's fine too. Gizmo sits on this tree and floats down the river. Nice! He can't touch water. Good attention to detail here. I sure hope it stays this good. He ends up getting found by Pete from Mickey Mouse,
That is our new star.
who just nabs him. Well, Lewis, it's like I've always said, if you want to find something weird, you have to go downtown. I don't know why random people are always seeing Gizmo and just grabbing him for themselves, but I'm not against it. Now we get the theme tune, which is, admittedly, catchy as heck. I was still holding on to my hope that this would be a good show at this point, but how far have we fallen?
In the arms of the angel.
Now we get introduced to Sam, and the whole vibe changes entirely. I feel like I'm watching Coco Melon or like Doc McStuffins. Long story short, this kid is the old guy who owns Gizmo in the Gremlins movies, and he works at a medicine shop with his parents. He has a crazy grandpa who looks like Mr. Potato Head got mashed, and his grandpa believes in magic.
So crazy.
The two of them go to buy ingredients for the medicine, and also the grandpa just happens to own a human skull.
That is a fake human skull, right?
Nope. It's from a grave I robbed.
So the grandpa takes him to the circus instead of buying the ingredients, and Gizmo's at the circus! For some reason, Gizmo's called a cat dog by everyone, despite looking nothing like a cat or a dog, but whatever. With a woof and a purr, Gizmo does a little slave dance and spots a way out. He knocks down a giant knife, which unfortunately for him, misses and only cuts the rope, keeping him stuck. Also, Naked Baby shoots a firework. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy when you realize this takes place in the same universe as the Gremlins movies. Everything happening here, it makes no sense. We get introduced to a new character with very messy hair, and she's also looking for a Mog-why very conveniently. Also, the grandpa suddenly realizes that this is a Mog-why and gives a long-winded speech about gremlins that doesn't explain any of the 3 rules because the plot needs Sam to be clueless. There's a big chase scene where the grandpa breaks his back before throwing a bomb at the circus employees while Sam and this girl try to capture Gizmo. Gizmo goes into the sunlight, and for some reason he doesn't even wince, despite being super weak to light, especially sunlight. But then someone takes a picture and the flash from the camera is enough to stop him in his tracks.
Great show, cat dog! Smile!
The girl gets the upper hand, so the grandpa destroys the entire circus without a second thought, almost killing Sam and Gizmo.
Sam!
Has anyone else forgotten that this is a show about gremlins? Getting back on track, you realize that Sam and Gizmo can't die. These guys are in Breaking Bad, they can't die in Better Call Saul. The funniest scene in the whole show happens right now.
That's right. We know what you are, and we want to help. Do 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 do. Huh?
And I don't think it was meant to be this funny, but it really is. So they take Gizmo home, and Sam asks his name.
This scene makes me really angry.
Gizmo proceeds to try and say his name, but Sam cannot understand.
Gizmo? Gizmo. Gizmo. Gizmo? Gizmo? Okay.
So they settle for Gizmo. So you're telling me this whole time Gizmo wasn't actually named Gizmo, and they chose to retcon this without even telling us his real name? Sam and Gizmo knew each other for decades. Is this the best you got? What happened to hear, one has only to listen? You don't even know his name. What do you mean to hear, one has only to listen? Ugh. Whatever. Whatever. So the grandpa prepares to go on a mission to deliver Gizmo back to his mountain house, when Sam just randomly happens to spill water on Gizmo with no build-up.
How dangerous can he be?
We didn't even know there was water in the room until Gizmo was shooting out babies. Suddenly the parents show up and everyone just watches Gizmo go through childbirth. So now is when the grandpa tells Sam there are rules, but he only tells him the one he just learned.
Listen carefully now. The Mog-why also come with rules. Rule number 1. Never, ever, ever get them wet.
Why doesn't the grandpa tell Sam that they turn into monsters when you feed them after midnight? Is he stupid? I feel like that's important information for Sam to know. Whatever. We cut to the girl from earlier meeting with some very, very mysterious tall man. Blah blah blah, he's her boss, blah blah, he wants a Mog-why for mysterious reasons, blah blah blah, and that's the end of episode 1. And at this point, there's a lot of things wrong with the show, but I wouldn't say it's really bad. I'd say it's creative, it changes a lot of things for some reason, but if the whole show was like this, I probably wouldn't have made a video in the first place, but episode 2 gets crazy. That being said, this episode still portrays the characters as stupid, unrealistically lucky, and stupid. Okay, so at the start of episode 2, good old Pop-Pop finally starts to explain the rules by torturing the Mog-why with bright lights. And he mentions that you don't feed them after midnight, but he doesn't tell Sam why.
Number 3. Never feed them after midnight. Hey, I didn't make the rules.
He doesn't say what happens when you feed them after midnight. This has to be on purpose. Why is the grandpa doing this? Grandpa explains that the family needs to go on a journey, and the dad says the only realistic thing anyone has ever said in the show.
A two-legged rat shows up, so we have to take it home to Danger Valley. And I'm the only one not on board?
Plus bonus points for calling him a two-legged rat. It's closer to that than a cat dog. While they're still debating, the bad guy pulls up. And so the grandpa tells his family to hide. Now I'd like to remind you that this takes place in the same universe as the Gremlins films. The same universe where this dude gets called crazy for believing in gremlins, and the same universe where the biggest problem before the Mog-why show up are unruly bank customers. The grandpa pretends he doesn't know what the big bad dude is talking about, but this evil tall dude doesn't fall for it. The goons get sent after Granddad, so this dude pulls out a magic drum toy and shoots them with magic. And then, as if that's not enough, I know I showed this in the intro, but Tall, Green, and Handsome over here touches the grandpa's bones and freezes him in place and turns him into an orb. And then the guy unhinges his jaw and eats the grandpa in front of his entire family. I've watched this scene so many times by now, and I still can't understand it. Every single time. It's ridiculous. I guess I'm laughing. Please take a second, go grab some water, and come back once we've had some time to calm down. This makes no sense. It's so random. I'd also like to throw out a quick reminder that this is literally the most developed character in this whole show. Sam just says yes to everything. He's the most basic person ever. The grandpa's the only one with any personality, and we spent all of last episode building up on that, and he just spontaneously gets killed. In like the strangest way possible. Who thought of this? Okay, so after watching their father/grandfather get eaten alive, the remaining family start to run. The parents sacrifice themselves one by one until it's just Sam, Gizmo, and the other 4 Mog-why. And Sam is left alone, crying himself to sleep in an alleyway filled with monsters after watching his grandpa get consumed by a wizard, and after watching his parents get captured by said wizard. Like, look how sad he is. How did this show go down this path? Like, when it started, everything was so happy and goofy. And it felt like it was a Nick Jr. show. And now it's this kid crying himself to sleep after all of his family's been kidnapped or eaten alive. What's happening? The bad Mog-why execute a little jailbreak and wreak some havoc on a restaurant. And you know what? This is what I want from this show. Not wizard duels and giant birds, just gremlins being gremlins. The Mog-why eat some food, and this is the part where I get excited to see gremlins. Gizmo and Sam realize the Mog-why escape and track them down to the restaurant. This is the part where I get excited to see gremlins. They find the egg sacs.
That's what happens when you eat after midnight?
But the villain shows up. This is when I get excited to see the gremlins hatch and attack the bad guy. Bad guy says some really messed up stuff to this child.
But not for you, Sam Wing. You're far too scared to go it alone. Deep down, your grandfather wasn't really sure you could do what he asked of you. In fact, that doubt was his second to last thought. His last being,
What is this monster doing to me?
I mean, he already ate his grandpa, give him a break. This is the part where I expect the gremlins to hatch and attack the bad guy. But instead, random girl decides to hit the bad guy with a giant wok, because eating people's grandpas is wrong. Then Sam and the random girl escape together onto a train. We also get to see the naked baby delivering a letter to Sam's parents, saying he's okay. How come the bad guy didn't consume them too? I mean, he says he gets knowledge from everyone he consumes. Wouldn't it be helpful for him to consume these parents as well? Like, is that too brutal for him? He won't eat parents, but he'll eat grandfathers? Where's the line here? Maybe he's still full from the grandpa. Sorry for bringing it up so much. That scene is just crazy. I know I've already spoke about it like 8 times in this one paragraph, but that's nuts. So that's it. Episode 2 ends. Oh wait, this is when I get excited to see the gremlins! And this is all we get. Yeah, also, Sam and Girl just get on the train and leave the gremlins behind, and Gizmo doesn't even try to stop them despite knowing how monstrous they are. Like, Gizmo just lets this happen. He lets them leave the town with the new gremlins in it. Like, Gizmo knows Shanghai is going up in flames, but he wants to go home. What are you gonna do? Okay, so we've gone through the 2 episodes currently available, and I gotta say, this whole thing made no sense. Introducing magic and mythical creatures to this universe is incredibly outlandish, and I think takes away from the original movies. Maybe if you viewed them as more separate things, you know, then it could work, but the fact that this is the origin story that we've never gotten before and it completely retcons a bunch of stuff, it doesn't make sense to me. Especially Gizmo's name. Why would they change Gizmo's name? It kind of feels like the people who wrote this don't have any stake in the franchise. They're kind of just playing with it. I think it would have made more sense if they used a new original property. The humans look weird most of the time, and from what we've seen of the actual gremlins, they aren't too promising. Hopefully that's just like the odd one out and the rest of them actually look like gremlins instead of overweight toads. It's really tragic that this is the only Gremlins content we've gotten in nearly 40 years other than the Mountain Dew commercial. Honestly, that commercial had more thought put into it than these 2 full-length episodes. This is also one of those weird cases of who is this made for? It feels like and looks like a baby show most of the time, but it's based on a franchise primarily aimed at older audiences, and it keeps some pretty gruesome moments in, so is this for kids or adults? I don't think anyone could enjoy this show. I've been watching a lot of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul for the first time lately, and I think Gremlins Secrets of the Mog-why is the Slip and Jimmy equivalent for this universe. It doesn't really make sense, it's outlandish, and it retcons a bunch of stuff for no reason. It's not as charming as it thinks it is, and honestly, I don't know who these shows are for. I could see maybe casual viewers of the Gremlins franchise enjoying this, and I could see families enjoying this, but honestly, if you're gonna bring back a franchise that's been dead for nearly 40 years, I think it's okay to pander to the fans of that franchise instead of casual viewers. I think changing a lot of stuff for, like, no reason is just more annoying than anything else. But hopefully someday soon, Gremlins 3 will be spontaneously dropped, maybe when all streaming services merge into one mega streaming service. But until then, all we have is this weird stain on the short-lived monster film series from the 80s. I might make another video on this topic if the third episode is somehow even more outrageous, or maybe it will get better. I don't want to be completely negative in this video. I think this show is funny sometimes. A lot of the parts of the show are like, pretty to look at. The artist did a good job, except for the grandpa, who scares me. It just feels like a lot of the story wasn't thought through, and the characters do dumb things all the time. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it is. Maybe when the whole series is out, I'll do a retrospective. And I hope that, like, it's already starting to grow on me from editing and watching all these clips for the 18th time. I'm starting to like the characters in the universe, but it feels stupid still that they've changed so much from the original thing. Just make your own thing. You know, don't make Gremlins Secrets of the Mog-why. Just make Secrets of the Mog-why. Although, probably change the Mog-why to something else, I don't know. Secrets of the Gimmo. I'm still kind of holding out hope for the future of the show. Maybe it will get better. I don't completely hate everything about it. I just think there's so many flaws, and every review I've seen of it so far has been incredibly positive and has nothing bad to say, and I don't think that's really fair. So someone has to be a jerk, and this is me. Also, sorry for all the jump scares, but look, I did it the first time, and I just couldn't stop myself. Alright, well, for now, I think that's about all I got to say, so why am I still talking? Bye-bye, nerds.